Steve?
Love it.
There, and it brings back the most amazing memories in my life.
875 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a karate teacher to trim their hedges.
Hey-ya! Man, these shrubs are not made of plywood. Don't worry, another few chops should do it. Yeah! Nope! Yeah! Dang!
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Oh, this treehouse looks like particle board. Yeah! There we go. I'm starting to doubt myself.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
1050 ESPN New York. The biggest names and the biggest games. WEPN New York. A Good Karma Brands radio station.
To have the opportunity to run out in front of 90,000 fans and play a game that I love, you feel this vibrancy to your life when you go out there, and it brings back the most amazing memories in my life. It's a love that Kobe had for basketball, that Michael Jordan had for it, that Tiger Woods had for golf. Football is my first love. I'm forever indebted to the game.
Yeah, I'm making a change today. The liquor been taking the pain away.
ESPN Radio. We are presented by Progressive Insurance, and Tom Brady is still retired. Almost 24 hours later. Good morning, Key. Good morning, Jay.
Hey, Maxer, how are you? Yes.
Yeah, it's a party.
Yeah. He is retired, and he's going to stay retired.
It's finally done.
Like, he will too.
All the pieces of content now we're going to have on Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Because he can't do this twice. Yeah. Can't do it twice.
Just want to stay for the record 2 days into Black History Month.
Can't do it.
Here we go.
Twice.
Again, 2 days, Max.
And if you do it twice, they're going to chop you up. And he doesn't want that. Right. He doesn't want to get chopped up. He's already being chopped up because, as Jay said, this is now
day number 2.
Day number 2.
Right.
Just counting. Marking it down, Tom.
We're down to 26.
Well, as I said, Peyton Manning will announce his comeback pretty soon. So speaking of Peyton Manning, Mike Francesa of Mike and the Mad Dog fame says that Tom Brady said this yesterday. Tom Brady is neither the best regular season quarterback, that would be Peyton Manning, or Super Bowl quarterback.
Max, set it up. Who is Mike Francesa?
Mike Francesa, as I said, Mike of the Mad Dog fame. Mike of the Mad Dog is a very popular sports talk show. Chris Russo was Mad Dog. You see him on First Take, and Mike Francesa came on First Take yesterday. It was sort of a reuniting of Mike and the Mad Dog.
Okay.
A radio show from WFAN in New York City for
decades.
Yeah, decades. It was on forever. And Mike, so listen to Francesa yesterday.
He's not the best regular season quarterback I've ever seen. Peyton Manning was.
What?
He's not the best Super Bowl quarterback who ever lived. Joe Montana is. What he is, though, is the guy who played the longest, and he won the most games. He won the most Super Bowls. So he will be remembered because nobody's going to play 23 years, and nobody's probably ever going to have a chance to win that many Super Bowls. It's almost impossible to do. He was in the right place with the right coach, and he was that competitive.
By the way, I find that take uncontroversial, and I've said as much in the past about Peyton Manning. Like, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were contemporaries. Every year, Peyton Manning, almost every year, not every year, almost every year, Peyton Manning was better in the regular season and can at least whatever your analysis is now, he was considered that way by most.
Heard it yet.
But because he might be like, I used to look at them and think, but he was considered by most to be a better regular season quarterback than Brady throughout most of their careers. Brady was better in the playoffs, no doubt, than Peyton. And in terms of Super Bowl quarterbacks, Montana was 4-0, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions. So I don't think Frances is wrong. Like, Brady is the GOAT because he's way up there regular season. And when you add it all up in the playoffs, he's the guy. But peak value in the playoffs, I take Montana. And regular season, I would take Peyton. I don't find that controversial.
I look at it probably a little bit different than Francesa, in a little bit different than you in terms of the regular season. I thought both of them had terrific regular seasons. One may have had to do a little bit more than the other. And by that, I mean Peyton Manning may have had to do just a little bit more. Peyton Manning had to go through a couple head coaches, where Tom went through one guy, and it was probably just an easier, so to speak, landing, if I could put that into terms that way, where, you sometimes you get a little turbulence and then you land and they hit too hard. His was smoother along the way. But Tom Brady beat Peyton Manning multiple times in the regular season for a long period of time. He also took him out in the playoffs for a couple times there. And then it shifted a little bit. I would say that Tom Brady had a better defense, just a better cast around him all the way. Brady certainly did his part. So did Manning. Then when you get to the postseason, I look at it again, and I had this conversation with Teddy Bruschi yesterday about the postseason. And I've continued to say it. Those first three Super Bowls, I discount for Tom Brady because I know what they had as a football team. Now, when you look at the overall body of work, I look at Joe Montana. The question would be asked to me, who would I rather have in the Super Bowl? I mean, Joe Montana is, if you grew up and you played the wide receiver position like I did, and you grew up watching Joe Montana, I'm not going to not want Tom Brady. But if they said, would you rather have Joe Montana or Tom Brady?
You're gonna take Joe.
I'm going to probably take Joe Montana.
The Super Bowl, yeah.
So I got no problem with what Mike said. I mean, he's accurate. I think it's more the thing that feels somewhat insulting as an ex-athlete is more the timing of it, right? It happens on the day that Tom Brady is retired.
Too soon.
Yeah, like it's the day of, right? So, and I get it because he
just passed.
Yeah, and Max, he did say that Tom is the GOAT, but then he's saying, well, Peyton Manning is a better regular season quarterback. I'm like, okay, I hear that, but guess what? I don't really value the regular season because we really value the postseason.
Yep.
And then I say, okay, Joe Montana didn't throw a pick in the Super Bowl. He's been to 4 appearances. I'm like, I hear that. That's incredible. And I agree with Key. Maybe I might take Joe Montana over Tom Brady, but Tom Brady has been to 10 Super Bowls
ridiculous,
as opposed to 4. So if you increase the number, I wonder if Joe would have had some flaws or mistakes if he had played in 6 more Super Bowls.
For sure.
Right? So it's an entire body of work to me. It's a great way of unpacking it to make a bold statement because it goes viral. But at the end of the day, you're still saying Tom Brady is the GOAT.
I didn't get the feeling that was a hot take. I get the feeling like it was honest analysis. Here's one way to do it, and just to gauge what people were thinking at the time. Not that they were right necessarily, but you look like, were they all pro? Did they win MVPs? Where did they finish in the MVP voting? Can give you a sense of what people thought. Peyton Manning was winning MVPs before Brady was an all-pro, right? Like the sense back then, certainly in the first half of their careers, is Peyton Manning is the best, but you'd rather have Tom Brady because there's something about him that's a winner. He has Belichick, right? That kind of stuff. And as insofar as like the timing of stuff, there were people, and I'm not even talking about the racists, guys, when Hank Aaron broke the home run record, who would point out, you know what? Yes, he is the all-time home run champ. He never hit 50 home runs in a season. He just hit 45 plus every year for 100 years. So people were saying that right at the time that were just making the comment, yes, he is the home run king. But in other words, when people say compiler, on the one hand, they're talking about guys who played a very long time, best ability, availability, that's great, and performed at a high level. But sometimes that can miss what other people mean by the greatest or the best, which is what peak did they hit? And how long did they sustain that, right? So
I just don't think people have any clue how difficult it is to play 20
1 year.
I mean, like we're talking about LeBron,
look,
type
hey,
20
it doesn't look
years,
so hard.
man. You know how hard.
Look, Jay.
1 year. I'm with, man.
1 year. How hard it is
It just seems like lack of perspective on
to
that.
play a season, let alone 23 seasons.
Yeah, 23
As
seasons.
Max likes to say, you get extra credit for certain things.
Thanks.
And he's going to get extra credit for 23 seasons.
No doubt.
Waking up, leaving his family and his kids. Some would argue playing football cost him his marriage. I mean, you have to sacrifice to be able to do the things that you want to do when you play professional sports. You have to eat a certain way. You have to think
Avocado
a certain
toast.
way. You have to do all of those things to be at your peak. Now, look, you mentioned that Peyton Manning was winning championship or MVPs before Tom Brady even became an All-Pro. But it's true. At the same time, the team was not built around Tom Brady.
Right.
The team was built around everything that they had, from Willie McGinnis to Ty Law to Laurie Malloy to Ted Johnson to Teddy Bruschi. I could go on and on and on about those teams and the way that they was built. You know, they went out and got Corey Dillon from Cincinnati. It was just a different way of
Versus
doing
Marvin
things.
Harrison and these guys.
And they didn't win.
Right.
They didn't win.
Is it
Peyton
fair
Manning won one damn Super Bowl in Indy.
Is it fair
One.
to say? And by the way, that's why Francesa didn't say postseason for Peyton.
But
Manning.
he didn't even put himself in position like that, though. He didn't have home field advantage every single year throughout, even though you would claim that he was the guy in the regular season. His teams were not going 14-2 ridiculously every single year.
But so is it fair to say because that just what you guys were talking about illuminated something for me. Like people like me will separate it out and say, well, on the one hand, you have longevity and people compile stuff. And on the other hand, you have peak value. But it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys are saying the longevity itself, don't rush past that, because that is so endemic. It's so a part of the greatness itself that to simply put it in another category and say, well, he just played a long time, therefore he compiled the stats, glosses over what it means to have played for so long and how integral that is to the greatness itself. Is that right?
Absolutely. You got if you play a long time, it's not that Jerry Rice was great. Jerry damn Rice played 22 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't. It doesn't happen. It's just like Francesa said. Nobody will ever do it in our lifetime, man. It's not at this level. You can be Steve DeBerg and play a long time. You could be Frank Gore and play a long time. But where Frank Gore was in his 6th, 7th, 8th year, he was not in his last part of his career where Tom Brady was.
Yeah, but the difference, you bring up Jerry Rice, guys, Key. Jerry Rice, the thing about Rice is, if you go back and look at the record, do not forget our memories of it. He put up the best numbers at his peak, and he played the longest, and he won the most. That's different than Brady a little bit, who Francesa's claim is, and I agree with this. In the regular season, there was a guy who was better, and in the Super Bowl, there was a guy who was better.
So a guy put up 700 more yards.
That's my question. What do you value? You value the regular season?
No.
Okay. So like that contradict. Well, I value the
but
regular
these
season
guys
too,
are all hitting enough of a level that you don't have to think about it. They're all
I value the regular season, Jay, because you got to put yourself in a position.
I agree.
But Key, everyone we're talking about is going to put themselves in that position. Like they all.
When I say the position, I'm talking about that 13-3, that 14-2
home field
advantage
bye,
every
first
single
round bye.
year.
Yeah.
That is important to me.
Yep. No argument.
Good. Because you would have lost.
How does Tom? Well, I know how to, where to pick my fights. How does Tom Brady?
Sorry.
How does his retirement affect the quarterback landscape this offseason?
What first?
I mean, look, you don't have to give up any draft capital for Brady. You could just sign. Oh no, you can't just sign him. Now, what's the domino effect here for the other quarterbacks? Yesterday's price ain't today's price for quarterbacks. After Key has this from Granger.
God did.
For the ones who get it done, Granger offers high-quality supply solutions for every single industry, as well as access to product specialists who have the knowledge, Jay, and experience to answer your toughest questions. Plus, their commitment to being your safety partner can help you Keep your facility safe and your people even safer. So simply just call or click Granger.com. Hi, it's Jay, and just stop by. Yes.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
I look at Joe Montana, and the question would be asked to me, who would I rather have in the Super Bowl? I'm not going to knock on Tom Brady, but if they said, would you rather have Joe Montana or Tom Brady, I'm going to probably take Joe Montana.
Super Bowl, yeah.
This is Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
After redshirting his first year at Ohio State, Joe Burrow spent the next 2 years as JT Barrett's backup. With Dwayne Haskins on the roster, Burrow didn't see much playing time and decided to transfer. LSU head coach Ed Orgeron zeroed in on Burrow and landed him. In his second season at LSU, Burrow led the Tigers to a 15-0 record, a national championship, and arguably the best season ever by a college quarterback.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Teams that win college bowls have great recruits, and great recruiting starts with great conversations. That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 875 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
The Michael K. Show is
Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max in the morning.
On LA's mega sports station.
LA Sports Talk all day long.
710 ESPN.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
I look at Joe Montana, the question would be asked to me, who would I rather have in the Super Bowl? I'm not going to knock on Tom Brady, but if they said, would you rather have Joe Montana or Tom Brady, I'm going to probably take Joe Montana.
Super Bowl, yeah. And so are you on that Montana. I think is a good one. The more you expose yourself in a situation, the more likely you are to make a mistake. Montana played in 4, was perfect. Brady played in 10. Of course, he's not going to be perfect. Still, for peak value, I would take Montana in the Super Bowl, but Brady's way up there. I mean,
That's fine.
Meantime, have the left hands.
We over here watching highlights.
The left arms, better yet.
Max, you over here watching highlights on the 10 TVs we have in the studio in Bristol. And Key's like, watch these throws. And I'm talking about Joe Montana's throws are just ridiculous. It's like you're watching poetry in slow-mo.
The dude was so cool, under pressure.
Look at this. Watch this throw right here. I mean, it's just crazy. Look
Moving
at this
out of
dime.
pocket, just
Man, Brady ain't moving like that and throwing that laser, man.
Body.
It's not happening.
A little bit of he got a little Pat Mahomes.
Oh, God, don't stop.
Montana, listen, when it comes down to, hey, can Mahomes ever catch Brady if he wins like 5 chips? I mean, that's one of the reasons this Super Bowl and the legacy of Mahomes such a big deal. You got to get to at least 2, right? But
look at these throws on E2, though, man.
Montana's the one everyone's like, what about Joe Montana? And whenever you bring up Joe Montana, everyone, I don't care what side of the debate you're on, goes, yeah. Joe Montana was bad. Yeah, he was the man.
And he was cool.
Cool, man. Still to this day is cool. Yeah. Look, we're watching highlights.
I'm sorry.
Y'all
need to take these highlights out because I'm going to be watching them. Be quiet. Look at this throw to Dwight Clark in the back of the end zone. Oh, God.
Got 3 dudes on him.
Sprint right option.
Bam. Woo. All right. So how does Brady's retirement affect today's quarterback landscape, right? We're talking history in Montana. What happens with the Bucs? Are the 49ers sold on Trey Lance? What about teams who are looking at Brady and Rodgers and talking at least internally, hey, should we make a run at one of these 2 guys? We're going to have to give up a lot to get Rodgers, but Brady's a free agent. Kyle Shanahan, 49ers head coach, at the press conference on Jimmy G's future.
Is there a scenario in which you guys can see Jimmy being back, and if so, what would that look like?
No, I don't see any scenario of that.
Okay.
So in other words, we don't want that.
No, that's not for us.
Which is smart. I mean,
if you got 3 quarterbacks too, and they're all injured or injury prone.
Injury riddled quarterback room doesn't help you.
Mm-hmm.
You got one guy that was making $20+ million. You got a bunch of young dudes on rookie contracts, 2 young dudes on rookie contracts. You want to see Trey Lance and the OTAs coming up here in the next several months. And Brock Purdy, whether he has surgery or not, he's going to be at least a 6+ month recovery process while he's trying to do that and trying to get back on the field. You've got to go out and sign a veteran quarterback at some point that makes a lot of sense that can actually play football. This team is too good.
Ooh.
This team is too good to bypass and put all your, eggs in the basket?
Eggs in the basket.
Yeah, eggs in the basket on Trey Lance, and you just don't know what's going to happen. I'm not anticipating Brock Purdy to play, and I'm not a doctor, but I'm not anticipating him to get on the field and contribute to this team before the start of the season. And just, when you say 6 months plus, you got to extend that for some odd reason something goes wrong.
So wait a second, though. I just want to put this in perspective because I feel like we always move the goalposts here as it relates to the 49ers, because now it's like they have to go find a veteran quarterback. They went all in on Trey Lance. Like, are we going to hold them somewhat accountable for all the the picks that they left up to go get Trey Lance, considering the Jimmy G situation? Or is it just like, okay, they're allowed to pivot and move and do something else, go find a veteran quarterback? Like, Trey Lance was supposed to be their guy. They moved heaven and earth to go get Trey Lance.
I think Trey Lance played in 3 games in 2 years. He's been hurt.
Yeah, that's the issue, Jay. You're right, but
it's a
the
team
injury
that's ready to
changes
go.
it.
It's a team that's ready to go.
That's
that team
the
is ready
thing,
to go.
Key. When they drafted Trey Lance, it was like, can we do a smooth transition from what we have, game manager, this and that, to plus, to more of an athletic, we want Mahomes, Josh Allen, someone with extra. And we'll develop him behind our solid guy, and then he'll be ready to go. But, Jay, the injury changes everything, right? He doesn't have the experience they were hoping he would have. And now the solid guy, injury-prone Garoppolo, is gone. They don't want him back. And Brock Purdy, the other guy, who he looks nice, he's not going to be available for a while. What do you do?
So you're talking about options like Derek Carr?
But the Raiders got a problem, too.
I hear you. A lot of teams, that's what I'm asking price.
So if the Raiders, and I don't even think the Raiders have given permission to Derek Carr and his people to even seek a trade. So now, when you look at it, this whole Brady thing kind of messed up the quarterback landscape, in my opinion, by him retiring, because teams have very little options at the quarterback position in terms of quarterback that they need for their team, right?
Mm-hmm.
This affects what the New York Giants want to do with Daniel Jones,
No doubt.
the Raiders want to do now all
His
of a
price
sudden.
went up.
With Carr, it may affect what Green Bay process thinking is in terms of Love and Rodgers. So it's a whole bunch of stuff. Because what's out there? If Carson Wentz becomes available, you're not touching that. Okay, Matt Ryan, you're not. What is that? So you start looking at the quarterbacks, say, Kirk Cousins, what is that? Sam Darnold, what is that? Like, I could go on and on about a list of quarterbacks. Carr probably is at the top of the availability list if you can pry him open without giving up compensation the way you would have to give for Rodgers. So the 49ers now have to say, do I waste Christian McCaffrey, his years? Do I waste Nick Bosa years? Like, I got to think about these sort of things, and that's what they're going through.
Or they get a good, solid backup, and they say, look, as Jay said, we made our bed. Now we got to lie in it, right? You set the table, you got to eat. Any metaphor like that. In chess, sometimes someone prepares to castle, right? They move the stuff out so they can castle, and then they hesitate, and they wind up losing the game. Like, you got to, when you have a plan, at a certain point, you got to follow through. And Key, even if you believe, and I think you're right, look, but he doesn't have the experience they were anticipating, it may be the best option if he truly is ready for OTAs.
You got to go.
Start Trey Lance to follow through on your plan, even if it's a little early.
You could just say, you know what, forget it. I think we have enough because we got a solid defense. And even if we dropped him back 15 times a game until he's ready and we got Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams and company, by the way, who's not getting any younger at the left tackle position, we may be able to play old bully ball and get somewhere until this kid is developed. Look at what they do.
Would you think they don't have a choice to do that? I mean, they wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah, but the problem, no, I don't know. But the problem is, when I'm looking at it, he's been hurt.
I understand that.
And so when he's been hurt, I don't know what's going to happen again.
But
now for the third time,
think about what Daboll did with Daniel Jones, right? Who has certain similarities. He's fast. He can throw it. He was inexperienced. He turned the ball over. They didn't know. So nice, safe, and sound. You design runs. You let him run if it's there. You make safe throws. And they have more than the Giants do, right?
I absolutely. Like, if it was me and I was running the team, I probably would just go with it and just, here's what we're going to do. The problem is I have a guy who hasn't been available to me. And then all of a sudden I get into the 7th game of the year and he's not available again.
You're going to have to find out in real time, too, if that lack of availability and that lack of evidence and data you have on him, if it turns out to be bad news or good news, and part of that's going to be on Shanahan.
And this is a big boy business too, Jay.
I get it.
It's not like, I know you get it, but it's such a big boy business.
I just wonder, could they find a way to get enough capital to try to be in the Aaron Rodgers game? Because if you're green, I don't think so. I mean, you just think Aaron Rodgers 49ers, and I know the money isn't probably going to work, but that seems like the perfect fit out of all the fits in the world.
Not doing it
for the 49ers, right? Ready to win now. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, you talk about Aaron Rodgers, but if you're Green Bay, you're like, all right, who's going to give me the most for Aaron Rodgers? And San Fran probably don't got the most to give.
Everyone who says, it can't happen because of X, Y, and Z, but I always wonder if there's a way to figure that out. All right, Jerry Jones said the Cowboys are committed to drafting a quarterback. What does this mean for Dak Prescott after Jay has this word from O'Reilly?
When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just, hey, man.
O'Reilly.
O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away, Key. Let me finish the read. They offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online at O'ReillyAuto.com and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. They'll even bring it out to you curbside. Or choose to have your parts delivered right to your door with free shipping on most orders over $35. Get your order fast with O'Reilly Auto Parts. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com today.
Magic Johnson is known for being the brightest light of the 5-time champion Showtime Lakers. And since the end of his playing days, Magic has been a champion for minority-owned businesses. Magic helped to fund nearly $100 million in small business loans directly to minority-owned businesses who were impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Black History Always. Celebrating Black History Month on ESPN Radio.
Cracking LeBron's road to history.
LeBron has brought the crowd to its feet.
Hear every three-pointer.
Three-pointer by LeBron. It's good.
Every dunk.
To LeBron. Slam dunk.
Every one of LeBron's points.
LeBron with the dagger.
The flagship radio station of LeBron and the Lakers.
710 ESPN.
This is where the king makes history.
Making Moves is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs.
After redshirting his first year at Ohio State, Joe Burrow spent the next 2 years as JT Barrett's backup. With Dwayne Haskins on the roster, Burrow didn't see much playing time in the